In this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through the exact process of creating a high converting pop-up form for your e-com store. Now, a recent study showed that the average pop-up only captures 2 to 5% of emails, while some of the top performers out there are cracking rates as high as 10%. And if you don't have the goal of converting a minimum of 5% of site visitors with your pop-up, you're literally leaving thousands of potential customers on the table. So by the end of this video, you'll know how to build your own high converting pop-up form and implement this into your own store. To start things off, I'm going to break down a high converting sign-up form we built for one of our clients. This strategy consistently converts at around 5 to 7%, and that's with very broad targeting. And I'm talking about something very simple, like 5 to 8 second time delays with no scroll percentage targeting. First, let's talk about how this form looks. You'll notice right off the bat that we use different designs for desktop and mobile. For desktop, we use 2 columns, text on one side for easy reading, and a design on the other that acts as a visual anchor. For mobile, we use a single column layout, stacking everything from top to bottom. Most sign-up forms aren't responsive, including Klaviyo's. So that's the reason why we create separate forms for each device. This allows us to optimize both the design and the copy separately. And when done, this alone can boost sign-up form conversions by a few percent. Now, let's go over the steps in each version. For desktop, we have 4 steps, while for mobile, we only have 3. On desktop, people would need to type in their phone number, and after subscribing, they would see a success page with their code so they can easily copy it. Then right under, we have a CTA telling them to use their code now. Now for mobile, we use a tap to text system to get SMS consent instead. When someone clicks the button, it opens up their messaging app with a pre-filled message that contains an opt-in keyword. And all they have to do is hit send, and then they're opted in. And normally afterwards, they would get the coupon code through both text and email. Using this method is a lot less friction and reduces mistakes compared to manually typing in a phone number. Now, if you're dealing with a high number of failed SMS deliveries, especially on desktop, I recommend using Smart Opt-in. This asks for a confirmation code and helps prevent list bombing, where people enter random or fake numbers to harm your setting reputation. Now let's go over what makes this sign-up form so effective. Starting off, we use a micro opt-in, which means before showing the offer, we ask for a small commitment. Now the thought process behind this is that people are more likely to follow through if they've already committed to something. And in psychology, this is a persuasion tactic and it's called the foot in the door technique. So I would suggest A/B testing this as your first step. I think you might be surprised by the results. Next, let's talk about imagery. Now we show a dog wearing the product, but what's really important is where the dog is looking. On desktop, the dog faces left towards the text. Now the reason why we're doing this is because there's been countless studies on eye tracking showing that people naturally follow the gaze of others, including animals. So when the dog looks left, people's eyes will naturally look towards the left-hand side, which is the text. For mobile, we adjusted the image so the dog sniffs downwards, again, leading the viewer's eyes to the text. Now we've tested this many times, and just changing the direction of the image has boosted opt-in rates by half to 1.5%. And I know 0.5% might not sound like a lot, but with a daily traffic volume of say 10,000 unique visitors, that's 50 more subscribers on your list every day. So definitely worth testing. Finally, let's talk about the copy. Now it's super fun, playful, and totally on brand. We use puns like just for you and phrases like join the SMS pack. Using brand specific language like this makes your messaging feel more personal and engaging. So whenever possible, try adding creative copy that fits your brand style. It will connect and resonate with potential customers at a deeper level. Now that we talked through the strategy of the sign-up forms, let's start making the desktop version first, and I'll make the mobile version right afterwards. So I'm going to come here to Klaviyo, go to sign-up forms, and then hit create form. And just starting off, we're going to be using a template. So I'm going to select grow your email and SMS list, and then I'll give it a nice name. And then I'm going to select email list and then SMS list. For this sign-up form, we're not going to be using a teaser. So I'm going to uncheck that and then hit create form. So just starting off, I want to make sure that the dimensions of the sign-up form will match Figma. So I'm going to come here to styles, and then for the minimum height, I'm going to change that to 533. So that will give us a little bit more room to work with. So just starting off, I'm going to select the side image right here, and then hit replace. And I've already uploaded the image earlier, so I'm gonna hit select. And it looks a little bit too big, so I'm gonna constrain the width a little bit and change that to 400. And that looks much better. After that, I'm gonna drag in an image and then upload our logo and then make that logo a little bit bigger. Now the next portion is this text. So I'm gonna go back to Figma and then just copy over the text and then paste it in. And then I'm gonna change the font size to 36. I'm gonna change the font to Lato, and then I'm gonna bold it. And then coming back here to Figma, I'm gonna copy over the color and then change that text color to that. So that matches up pretty nicely. The next portion is the text right here. So I'm going to copy that from Figma. I'm going to paste it in, and then I'm going to highlight everything and then change it to Lato and then change that to 16 pixels. The next section is the email block right here. So I'm going to come back here to Klaviyo. I'm going to increase the padding on the top to 20. And then to edit all the styles for this input field, I'm going to go down here and select this button. And then for the input, I'm going to change the font to Lato. I'm going to change the placeholder to black. And then I'm going to copy the border color from here and then paste that in right here. Now the last thing for us to do on the slide is the button. So I'm going to select that. And then I'm going to copy that button color and then put it in right here. And then change the border radius to 59. And then we'll copy over that text from Figma and then change that text right here. For the button click action, you want to make sure that it submits the form and then it submits it to the proper list. After submit, we want to make sure that it says show the next step. Now that the email slide is complete, let's go ahead and do the micro opt-in. So I'm going to come here to the top and then select clone and then change the name to micro opt-in, then clone the step, and then we're going to move that to the front. So I'll come back here to Figma and it looks like we need to type out, would you like a possum discount? So I'm going to change this to would you like a possum discount. So it looks a little bit too close to the edges of the form. So I'm going to increase the padding. So on the left, I'll change that to 10. And then on the right, I'll change that to 10 as well. Now for the micro opt-in, we can get rid of these two sections right here. So I'm going to delete this block and then delete the email field. Now the last thing for us to do is change the call to action. So I'm going to come back here to Figma and then copy this text and then paste it in. And then we'll increase the padding at the top to 25. And then the final check you want to do is making sure that the action is submit form. And then after submit is show the next step. So now that we have the micro and email opt-in slides finished, let's move on to the SMS slide. So I'll come here to the template and then delete it. And then I'm going to clone the email opt-in slide, change that to SMS opt-in and then clone the step. So the first thing we need to change is the title. So I'm going to come back here to Klaviyo and then change this to join the SMS pack. And then I'm going to copy over this text from Figma and then paste that in right below. I'll change the font to Lato and then change the font size to 16 pixels. Afterwards, I'm going to delete the email input and then drag in the phone number field. Now when adding in the phone number field, it adds in the SMS disclosure as well, and it's way too big. So let's change the primary text to 10 as well as the line text. And then I'll come back here to Figma and then copy over the color of the text and then paste that in for the primary and then paste that in for the link text. And then we're going to drag this down and make this a little bit darker so it stands out. And then for the font, we'll select Lato for both. Now for the disclosure, we have to make sure that we're putting in the right links as well as the company name. So I'm going to hit edit and then I'm going to change this to dog IDs. So for the privacy policy, I'm just going to get that from their website and then just paste it in. And then same for the terms and then hit apply. Now the last thing for us to do on this slide is change the CTA copy. So I'm going to copy this and then paste that in. Now the final check you want to do is make sure that the action is submit form, list to submit is SMS list, and then after submit is show the next step. All right, last thing is the confirmation slide. So just looking at this on Figma, we have a different image on the side, we have a unique discount code, and then we have a CTA. So coming back here to Klaviyo, I'm going to replace the image, then hit select. And again, the width is way too big, so I'm going to change that to 400, and that looks a lot better. Same thing, I'm going to drag in the image block and then put in the logo, and then we're going to remove this, and then we're going to copy over this title right here and then paste it in. And then we're going to change this to Lato. We're going to highlight everything, change it to heading 1, change this to Lato, and then change this to 36. And then we're going to hit bold, copy over that color, then paste it in. Next thing is the text. So I'm going to copy that over, go to this section right here, and then paste it in, change that to Lato, and then to 16 pixels. Now this is looking really good. Next thing we have to do is drag in the coupon section. Now before doing this, just make sure that the coupon is set up inside of Klaviyo. So I'm going to select AC20, which is my coupon code. And then for the success message, I'll change that to coupon copied. For the coupon text, I'll change that to Lato and then to 24 pixels. For the background color, I'll copy this over and then paste that in. For the label color, I'll change that to white. And for the border style, I'm going to change that to none. Last thing for us to do is add in the CTA. So I'm going to come here to add a block and then drag in a button. And then for the action, I'll change that to go to URL. And then I'll come back here to dog IDs, copy over the link for bestsellers, and then paste it in. For the text, I'll change that to use it now, and then change the font to Lato, change the font size to 18, copy the background color here, and then paste that in. And then for the border radius, I'll change that to 59. And the last thing I'll do is add some padding to the top. Now that we finished making the slides, what you want to do now is check targeting and behavior. The first thing you want to check off is timing. If you're starting off, using Klaviyo's default time delay combinations are fine, but I recommend a minimum of 5 seconds, even if you didn't want to use the scroll delay. The next thing you want to check is that frequency is at 5 days, so we're not bugging people. And then we're going to set device to desktop only. The last thing is setting this live and testing to make sure that everything is working properly. All right, let's move on to making the mobile version. I'm going to come here and create a new form. And then for the form name, I'll give it a nice name, select email list. And then for the form type, select pop-up. Uncheck the teaser, and then save and design. Now the first slide I'm going to be doing is the email slide. So I'm going to come back here to Klaviyo, change the width to custom, and then change this to 350, and then keep the minimum height at 250. Now first thing we'll do is drag in this image right here at the very top. So I'm gonna come back here, add a block, and then drag in the image, and then select it, and then change the width to 350 here. So you'll notice that there's padding all around, and we have to get rid of that. So I'm gonna come back out here, come to styles, and I'm gonna set the padding all around to 0. So I'm gonna change this to 0, this, and that. And then I'm gonna come back and click on this image right here, and set that to 0 as well. So coming back here to Figma, it matches up pretty nicely. Now the next thing we need to do is add in this logo. So I'm gonna come back here and then add in another image block and then upload the image. And then we'll come here to padding and then we'll change this to 20 at the top. So we're looking pretty good there. Now we have to add in this text right here. So I'm gonna copy this. And then for this heading, I'm gonna paste it in. And then I'm gonna change this to Lato, change this to 30, bold it, and then change the color. I'm gonna hit enter. So this is all in one line. Next thing we need to add is the body copy. So I'm gonna copy this, select that, and then paste this in. Same thing, I'm gonna change this to Lato, and then change the padding on the right and the left to 35. The next section is the email input. So I'm gonna come over here and then change this to email. And then for the block padding, I'm gonna unselect this, and then change it again to 35. And to actually customize the field, I'm gonna come down here and then go to styles menu. So I'm gonna change this to Lato, change the font size to 16, and then change the placeholder color to black. After that, we'll change the input field height to 45. So I'm gonna come down here. So I'm gonna select the button, grab the color from Figma, and then change the color. Change the border radius to 59, and then change the block padding to 35 as well. We'll also wanna grab the text, paste it in, and then change the font to Lato. And then we'll slightly increase it from 16 to 18. And I think it'll look better with some padding at the bottom. So I'm gonna expand this and then change it from 10 to 25. Now for the button action, just make sure it says submit form, submits to email list, and then show the next step. Now that we're done with the email slide, let's go ahead and do the micro opt-in. So I'm gonna come to the top and then hit clone and then change the name. And you'll want to drag that to the front. Now I'm gonna come back here to Figma and then just type out the title. So it's, would you like a possum discount? And then I'm gonna delete everything else. And then I'm gonna center it. And then I'm gonna hit enter a few times so that it matches Figma. Now we don't need the 2 sections below it, so I'm gonna delete the blocks. And then for the text, I'm gonna copy this over and then paste it in. And the last thing is to make sure that the button action goes to the next step. All right, so let's go ahead and do the last slide. So I'm gonna come to the top and then hit clone and then change this to SMS opt-in. I'll come here to Figma and take a look at the text and then just type it out and then delete everything else. For the body text, I'm gonna copy that and then paste it in, and then change that to Lato. For the email input, we're gonna delete that. And then for this button, I'm gonna copy over this text and then paste it in. Now for the action, we're gonna change this from submit form to subscribe by SMS. Now for the SMS keyword, I'm gonna select join, which is the default keyword when you make a Klaviyo account. And for the setting region, I'm gonna keep it at US and Canada. Now for the block padding, I'm gonna reduce that to 20 because we're gonna be putting some text underneath it. Final thing we wanna do is add the disclosures. I'm gonna change the primary text to Lato, same for the link text, and then change both to 10. And for the color, I'm gonna grab it from here and then paste it in. And for the link color, I'm gonna drag it down a little bit so it stands out more. For the block padding, let's change that from 6 to 40. And the last thing for us to do is edit the disclosure. So I'm gonna hit edit, change this to dog IDs, link to the privacy policy, and then to the terms. Last portion of this is going to targeting and behavior. We'll keep the timing the same as desktop, but we're gonna change device to mobile only. Once you have that done, set it live and run a test to make sure that everything is working. And after you set both live, you can sit back and watch your sign-up forms bring in more leads, allowing you to generate way more revenue in the long run. Now in this video, I showed you how to make pop-up forms that will convert and get tons of people onto your list. But once you have those people on your list, you need to be 100% sure that the emails you send them are actually landing in the inbox and not the spam folder. Because there's no point in designing a great looking email if no one ever sees them. And to land in the inbox, you need to have good email deliverability, which can be super confusing if you're not sure what you're doing. If your emails are going to spam right now, I'll show you how you can easily fix that and be 100% sure that your emails are going to land in the inbox in the future. So click here to go to the next video where I'll cover everything you could possibly need to know about email deliverability. And once you fix your email deliverability, you'll actually have unlocked the full potential of revenue that email can help you generate so you can scale your e-commerce brand profitably with email marketing. I'll see you over there.